Do you think they should attempt to acquire someone this year?
No, here's the thing. You can't do that because it doesn't matter what the asset is. Like, I don't care if it's a 5th round pick. You can't spend a future on fixing this season.
When we've been told this season doesn't matter.
Because that is entirely contrary to literally every single thing you've said. What Keith Jones said 4 days ago. Like, you can't, if you do that, you are signaling to us, to the fan base, that you're actually full of shit.
Jonesy told
And
us
that's
he's
a
not
problem.
looking at the standings.
No.
Doesn't give a shit.
He don't give a fuck if they win these games. He does not care.
They want the games to matter, so they want to remain somewhat competitive. You don't want March to be a throwaway.
They like that they're playing well.
But right now, they're like, when they say they want to play meaningful games, they mean like at this current moment right now.
Yes.
And given the edge that they have in the standings,
right,
it's going to be a while for the games not to matter. Like, even if they lose like the next 5.
No, that's the thing.
The games will continue to matter because they have a 5-point lead in the standings.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the Pens...
And the Devils aren't winning.
I was going to say, the Pens and the Devils are doing a really great job keeping the Flyers in the playoff race regardless of what the Flyers do. So that's really nice of them. But the message that it would send to the fan base that you have worked so hard to get back on your side, and they have done a great job getting all manner of fans back on, young ones, old ones, like in-game stuff is great, the messaging is great, everyone fucking loves Keith Jones, like they've done a really good job. You go out and you spend an asset to get a goalie for this season, and you've ruined it. You've completely ruined all of the goodwill that you've brought up, so they can't do that, especially when you have them listed here. This summer, there are quite a lot of UFA goaltenders that will make solid backups that you can get for absolutely nothing.
Plenty of those types of guys. And that leads me to what the hell do they do next year? Because that's really the question. A lot of people have pointed to Alexei Kolosov. Mm-hmm. The Flyers signed him to an ELC. He is on loan in Russia. They expect him to come over. That said, it's a possibility he would come over this year. In Charlie's article for Diehards Only, go to allphly.com, become a diehard. He spoke to Brent Flair last week. And Flair didn't rule out the idea of Kolosov coming over this year. But the AHL is very much a part of his development plan either way. In the most likely scenario, he comes over next season, and he's in the AHL, at least to start, you would assume. Which leads to, okay, so Peterson stinks, Sandstrom stinks. What do they do now? I have compiled a list of some UFA goalies, and this seems to be the route that would make the most sense.
Yes. Guys
who are UFAs after this season include Cam Talbot, Marc-Andre Fleury, which would be so much fun.
That
also,
would be
he's 100.
Hilarious.
Capo Kakinen, Scott Wedgwood, Ilya Samsonov, Antti Ranta, John Quick, who is having quite the resurgence with the Rangers. Don't see that one happening. Martin Jones.
Mari J.
Yeah, it's an interesting one after last year. Alex Nedeljkovic, Anthony Stolar, Stoli the goalie would be interesting. Spencer Martin, David Riddick, Casey DeSmith, Kevin Lankinen, James Reimer, Cal Pickard, once again, one of the Cals.
Should we try another Cal?
Yeah, it's a lot of that level of dude.
Yeah.
And now some of these guys are, that's basically Cal Peterson. Not quite, but these are just the guys who've played double-digit games this year.
I think every one of these guys is better than Cal Peterson.
They're all having better seasons.
Each one of them, I feel like
Scott Wedgwood is the perfect, that's a guy like that, or an Antti Ranta. Now, some of these dudes are up there in age. Like Cam Talbot, I did not realize was 36 years old.
Is he?
Good
for him.
So who knows if they're realistic options, but this is the route they're probably going.
They have to. Any one of maybe not any one of these guys, but a number of these guys signed to a 2-year deal as the bridge to having Kolosov in the NHL. It's extremely obvious. That's what you do. One of these guys is your backup goaltender. If we are confident that Ersson can be a full-time starter in the NHL, and it seems like we are fairly confident that that's the case.
It's going pretty well so far.
Then you just need a okay. You need Brian Elliott. You just need a guy that can play some games and not shit the bed like Cal Peterson is doing. And I feel like any one of these guys can fill that role pretty easily.
It literally just needs to be someone with basic competence.
Right.
Like, we can't just have a guy who we lose if we start him.
No.
That's what it looks like Peterson is. Yeah. It can't be that. Now, I don't know how exciting any of these names are to anyone, but that's kind of why I think I said this to Charlie the other day. I don't expect them to be this good next year. Like, they're gonna move on from some veterans, whether it's at this trade deadline or potentially in the offseason. That's when I think Scott Lawton is gonna go. I doubt he goes at the deadline, but we'll see. But I think it makes a lot more sense leading up. Maybe Risto. Obviously, the injury kind of throws things up in the air this year, but he could be someone that goes in the summer. Like, I just look at what the team is now, and I think there's gonna be more kids on it next year. I don't know if they want to spend assets in the summer either. That said, they're going to have plenty of cap space. It's not as if it's like, well, we don't want to give a guy. You're talking about a 1 or 2 year deal for most of these guys. So I'm interested to see what the strategy is, but it's a long way off.
We all silly like the mayor.